Okay,
which
so now that we've covered body hair, I wanna finish this up with one last thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and it's the cost of freedom and how easy ideas harden into systems because of what we've just discussed. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
if we become oppressive and make our women shave, they're only going to resent us, right?
out of here.
that was just a bad example. I'm gonna let Mark
Ah,
actually make a comment since you two are just being bad boys. What's your take on that, Mark? Because you're really a fan of a lot of this right here, the cost of freedom and how easy it is for ideas to harden into systems. And think about this kind of like our discussion with the peel lights and what happened with the police force and what resulted in that. You know what I mean? Kind of like that because of a group where things went bad in a freaking I guess you could call it a riot or a protest back then. And
Okay, you want to look at this from the WK
or
with this
remember
current situation.
remember when the guards ended up putting their swords into the crowd and people ended up dying, and then Pill came up with his reforms to kind of like create the police force.
Okay.
Remember?
Again, you always going to need some sort of regulation. You cannot have a sort of anarchy sort of population just full of anarchy. I suppose looking at this from what's happening in a lot of countries at this moment, and Britain being a very good example of that. I can't remember what's the original, what was the quote, but this goes back to if freedom's worth anything, it's worth fighting for.
Very good. What about you, Otto? I'm gonna leave V for last because he's just a pervert.
All right, what was the question again? I was researching Robert Field, and I was also.
Now, my whole thing is like, I want your take on the cost of freedom and how easy ideas harden into systems.
Well, that gets back into what I was saying earlier, I think, about charismatic authority versus bureaucratic authority. And I think that the charismatic authority is what we would call freedom. There's no imposition of rules. It's simply what spontaneously arises in a group of people. But at the end of the day, there are things that need to be addressed. And this is most easily done with a bureaucracy. It simplifies things, it makes things easier. So we surrender freedom for convenience. And again, I don't want to finish my day of work and then go to like a meeting for like 2 hours to decide where we're going to put the porta potties, in our community or something like that. I would much rather let a bureaucracy decide, all right, we've got rules, can't have a porta potty within so many and just let them handle it, sort of deal. So I think that things tend to harden because they kind of need to. It's a question again of a balance. There has to be a dynamic balance, and hopefully you wind up with the least intrusive kind of government and authority as possible. But you do need a certain amount of governance when you get a large enough group of people. So I think it's a natural tendency.
What about you, V?
Get ready for the comments.
No, even though you usually go blue collar more than me, my friend, I'll go ahead and have you repose the question because I don't want to say something that's already said because Otto, Otto challenges me. I like being put behind Otto because that opens me up to. Because I want to ask something personal. I don't want to be
he likes to take the.
I want to ask something personal. So just come back at me with the question.
Okay.
And I'm gonna flow on it.
I want you to discuss the cost of freedom and how easy these ideas, or ideas in particularly, are hardened into systems. Okay.
The cost of freedom. the cost of freedom, and can that freedom can even be appreciated, be used correctly? Because that extra chance at freedom can just bring about a whole different cycle of duty. Now, I'm gonna just qualify the statement with my own personal experience. I would say that I'm a free person. Yes, I know all the psyops put against me by the government. I know the corporate uh, advertising and materialism that's spreading through the world. I'm aware of every layer. I don't have that prison of caring what someone thinks, because that's a prison. That's a cell that you get locked into. There's so many of these that are um, put in our world. I call them chambers. Not much unlike Wu Tang, 36 chambers, right? Each chamber is a challenge, a trap, and you have to get through the chamber to reach a different level of enlightenment. And that's how we think. That's how the logical mind thinks, because that's how our video games are even structured. That's how our movies are structured. Everything has that conflict and progress sort of ordeal. Now, I say that I'm a free person. I don't have any kids, none living. I don't have. I just don't have a lot of the normal entanglements. I'm going to use Jada Pickett Smith language. I don't have any entanglements. Uh, although you can have entanglements and it'll give you more ability or more influence or just more support. I'm not saying, these are bad things. Entanglements, if you know how to use it, can give you even more freedoms. Because a man with no options has all the options in the world. Okay? So in my personal situation, I have that complete freedom. However, my bloodline was wronged. I don't have the family. I don't have family. I should have family. But because government stepped in the way unjustly, unduly, very corrupt, very illegal, and the manner in which they interrupted my life. So I don't have the family that I should have. So am I free? Yes. However, I fall back into duty because I'm just in that cycle, in that mode. I have to do my due diligence as a human being, as a member of the society, to expose the evil that I experienced from our authoritative establishment. Okay? So, freedom. It's just one of those things, right? I know a lot of people, and I'm not coming down on people when I say, oh, people aren't brave enough to stand up against the system. I probably wouldn't have stood against the system either. Kind of not gone through what I went through. But it's like one of those things. You're in something, and I tried to get out, but then you just get roped right back in. And so here we are, back again, and I'm in search and destroy mode constantly, because I have to do my due diligence for everybody else. I'm making a sacrifice. So, is that freedom? Is that being bound? I don't know. This is my personal view on it. Not to complicate things.
That's perfectly fine. You actually sounded pretty good. Now,
Okay. I just hope I'm making some kind of sense here.
No,
I
no,
am on medications now, so
that's
I,
good.
I was supposed to be asleep like
Reminds
30
me of
minutes ago. So just let you know.
Okay.
It reminds me of something Aristotle said about how, talking about slavery, and he said some men, you can load them with wealth and power and they will always be slaves, and other men you can load them and they will always be free. It does really come down to you.
Absolutely.
And one thing that sticks out to me, and I think that this book actually speaks to, is its distrust of central powers for one thing, and then like the thing that I always think of is propaganda and narrative control. You know what I mean? That brings you into like that whole revolutionary hypocrisy where people say it's revolution, but they create the same system they just destroyed. You know. Um, so when it comes to political skepticism, that's really what I think is really the healthy part of all of this stuff. You know, like they were talking about this stuff, and they brought that machine in that you could very well say was the 1966 freaking version of what AI is today. You know. So I would have probably doubted this actually coming true in 1988, but looking or 1984, you know, but I know that was pretty cheesy. I had to do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Hey, you want to know cheesy? You want to know cheesy? I was born so 1984, right? The book, the movie, and people ask, "Wait, what's the answer to that? What do we do?" Well, 1985. Year I was born. I am the answer.
oh god. Okay, let me go ahead.
That's cheesy.
Let me go ahead and move past that. But you know, I mean, for me, the things that I'm doing right now with my books, okay, I think this is pretty good because I think what I'm reading from it today is like a lot of people misunderstood like the whole idea behind it. Like they thought that it was like purely just a pro-freedom fantasy when it was actually a lot more darker and than what it really was. You know what I mean? Because it connects it connects a lot to what I'm doing from what I'm reading. It does. There's a lot of things that really, because like with authority and functions, like we've been talking about, you know what I mean? To me, it feels hollow. You know what I mean? Obedience is a social lubrication kind of thing. You know what I mean? Instead of actually, like we live in a society, especially now, where people are obedient only because it freaking greases the wheels. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they follow a political party, it's because if they don't follow that political party, it's going to fall.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So it's kind of messed up.
Well, I mean, it's not only that. I mean, it's just like what you said at the beginning. It's people feel good. It makes, and so, and I do talk about the aspect of, you know, the alleviating from responsibility, from accountability. And you know, you've been on many RPN shows there, Roger,
Yeah.
and how a certain sex gets blamed for accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's sort of just a fractal. It's a situation that exists, yes, within that political landscape, and it's fractal. It appears